Hey guys, hope you're doing well. In this video we're going to be doing the step-by-step creation process of my new tank, the ADA 60P, not the 60F, the shallow tank like before. We're upgrading, so that's good. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, comment and like on the video. That would be really appreciated, so thank you so much. And before we get started, I thought it'd be good to think about the concept, or talk about the concept design. It's very basic. All I wanted to do was basically have a triangular shaped layout, so classic nature aquarium kind of layout, but with a twist. And the twist was using vibrant plants. So in the video you'll see purple, you'll see red, pink, very vibrant green colours. So yeah, something a bit different, classic but a wee bit different, not really too common. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and without further ado, let's just get started. So to start off, we're going to be using 80 Amazonia soil. This is a really nutrient rich soil, packed full of nutrients and ammonia as well. Ammonia is really useful at the start because it provides the bacteria with some food, but of course it can also have some issues such as plant melt. It can burn the plants, especially some of the more delicate plants that I might be using in this layout. So you got to be careful and doing like loads and loads of water changes. Personally, I follow the ADA guidelines and water changes, and that really helps avoid the melting of plants and the excess ammonia starting to burn the plants. Next, we're going to be adding the rocks and the hardscape. So here you can see I'm adding some of the larger rocks, and also moving on to the wood as well. Through the whole hardscape process, you'll see me actually taking away pieces of wood and hardscape and rocks. And this is because it doesn't always work out the first time you try it. So as you can see here, I'm placing wood, trying to find the right place to put it, and it's just a kind of like trial and error kind of thing. Here you can see me using this large rock on the left hand side of the aquarium. It's a very odd rock to put in here. It doesn't look quite right, so I've quickly removed the rock and tried something different. So you can see this process right here of me, trial and error. It doesn't always work out the way you want it to. So it's important to be very flexible on your design. And funnily enough, that rock that didn't actually work in the other place, it's working perfectly on the right hand side of the aquarium. You can start to see this triangular shaped layout starting to kind of take place. Right now I'm trying to get this triangular shaped layout mostly in there, so you're looking at the bulk of the layout, the bottom section of the layout. We're starting high on the left and low on the right, and I'm starting to add more little detail pieces to try and bulk out the layout, to try and achieve what I'm, just the base of what I'm looking for. I start to add some more vertical pieces here, following a direction of flow to the bottom, from the bottom left to the top right. It doesn't take away from the triangular shaped layout itself, which I know is a bit confusing, but it does work as long as you have that base layer, the base triangular shaped layer underneath of the vertical pieces. When placing tiny pieces of hardscape like this, I'm actually in the back of my mind thinking about zip ties. Funnily enough, that's not really what you should be thinking about when you're creating a layout, but in this case I wanted to zip tie everything together to keep the maintenance really easy for myself, because when you zip tie, things don't float, things don't move when you're trying to clean them, so it's actually much easier when you zip tie them together. So I'm looking for that, but also looking for the best looking face of the piece of wood or the piece of rock that I'm using, and that's something you should always be conscious of. I'm adding the zip ties. The zip ties, actually, when I'm adding them, it changed the whole layout. The pieces of wood didn't quite fit in the way I arranged it at first, which is totally fine, and I'm actually more happy with it, the way it turned out at the end. So that's really good. But yeah, you can see here, simple zip ties. If there's no location for a zip tie, obviously glue is the alternative, or you can drill a hole to fit a zip tie through it. Either or is fine, but I prefer the zip ties as they don't leave marks and they don't really break when you're trying to clean as well. Some more detailed pieces go in right now. This is a small piece that I'm adding, and it gives a bit of a conflict, a bit of tension in the layout. It doesn't go in the same flow as the rest of the pieces, and this tension is really important aspect to a layout such as this. Smaller pieces of rocks go in underneath the hardscape to try and make it go a bit more vertical, so I have more planting room. And you can kind of see me adding more soil here. The soil should have probably been added before this because I'm having to basically lift the hardscape out of the soil and uncover it later on. It worked out in the end, but looking back, I should have probably added more soil before the hardscape that was added. Here I'm actually just snipping off some of the zip ties. Obviously, you're just going to be left with zip tie. You can see that it's visibly, it doesn't look very good. So you can cover it with plants and moss and things like this later down the road. So don't worry, the plants will eventually cover the zip ties. And finally, I'm adding some smaller rocks just for some detail. Try to find the best, side of the rock to add. The first plant I'm adding here is Utricularia graminifolia, also known as UG. It's known as quite a difficult carpeting plant, or you can actually add it to hardscape as well. It doesn't necessarily need the soil. There's a lot of misconception around this plant, and a couple of those is they say that it can't be added to soil, which it can. It actually does better, or it grows faster in nutrient-rich environments, although you do have to be careful with the ammonia. Just the water changes should you mitigate this issue. Of course, some people say that it can't grow in hard water. It actually can grow in hard water, so you don't necessarily need soft water, although it might do better. And some people say that you can't add some liquid fertilizers or certain nutrients in the liquid fertilizer for it, which is also a misconception. It does, once again, does better in nutrient-rich environments, I've found personally. So although you don't need high nutrients to grow it, it will grow faster, obviously, like a lot of plants do. So I guess the moral of the story is don't always listen to everything on the internet, and do a wee bit of your own research, but the more research you do obviously is the better, but don't necessarily listen to everything, as to be true at least. This plant I'm planting here is called Cryptocoryne pink flamingo. It's got a couple different names, but the one I use is pink flamingo. And obviously it has a really nice vibrant pink color, light pink color. It'll grow quite big, hopefully within time. Slow grower, but really, really beautiful. The plant I'm planting here is Lobelia cardinalis dwarf, but it's the type 2 version, the wavy version. The next plant we're planting here is the Bacopa salzmannii purple. Really, really cool plant, and it'll give a bit of contrast, and it'll be more of a focal plant in this layout. Just behind that one, we're also planting another Bacopa. This one's called Bacopa caroliniana. Really nice, beautiful green color. It can also go a wee bit pinkish if under highlight, which is really, really neat. Really like this plant, highly recommend it. I'm adding a few stems of Limnophila aromatica mini, the mini version, just a couple stems in 2 locations. The next plant we're planting here is Rotala blood red SG. It's a slightly rare plant because unlike other Rotalas, this one doesn't need as much nitrate limitation to stay very red, and maybe not as much light either, although these things do help. It's a really cool plant. You might not find it readily available online, as it is a bit harder to find. On the hardscape, I added a mix of different ferns and Anubias and Bucephalandra and a few other things. Some of these include the Microsorum needleleaf, the trident fern, Anubias petite, Anubias bonsai, a few different Bucephalandra, but it all worked quite well to give different textures and just different colours in there. I did add some Macranthium Monte Carlo, also known now as Tweedii. Unfortunately, this actually melted quite oddly because the UG didn't melt after week 1. So I think it was probably because it was just a poorly grown plant, not very healthy plant when I bought it. I had a friend that also bought the same plant from the same supplier, and it melted for him as well. So it's probably just a plant health issue buying from the suppliers. Always buy the healthiest plants you can. I also added some Hydrocotyle vertuculata in a couple places. One of the most unique plants comes next. It's Bucephalandra Brownie Ghost 2011. It's probably one of the most sought after plants in the hobby. It's really cool, very bluish purple hue to it with more reddish new leaves. Really, really beautiful. I actually put it in this location, but I'm no better than this to do this because this is in a high flow, high CO2 mist area, which is probably prone to BBA. So I actually moved this to the central location on the hardscape later down the road, later in week 1. And don't forget to spray your plants to keep the plants healthy, you know? You don't want your plants drying out when you're planting. So I'm actually adding water here. I didn't finish the planting before this because not all the plants arrived, but I'm just using tap water, and I think I'm going to use tap water in this layout just to keep it simple. My tap water is not perfect, although it's quite soft at only about 140 TDS. I do have high amounts of KH in the water, which is not ideal. It's about 6 KH. So I think it'll be fine, but it's not ideal, although I don't really have super soft water plants here, so I don't think it'll be too much of an issue, and I can always swap to RO if needed. The last plant I planted was Repens, really cool plant for aquascaping. It creates this nice little dense bush in the foregrounds or midgrounds. I really like this one. I don't use it enough, I don't think. Super easy as well, so it's good for anyone. So that is the layout done. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe if you did. Let me know in the comments actually, would you have planted it differently? And do you like the layout, how it's turned out? I would really be interested to know. But yeah, they were on week, well, we're at the end of week 1 now, and the plants are doing well. Monte Carlo melted, but I don't know, my friends melted as well, so it is what it is. It's probably just a plant health issue from the supplier. And everything else is doing well, a bit diatoms, but you know, overall, that's just normal for a new aquarium. So I'm hopeful, very hopeful that this tank is going to turn out to be very nice. And I don't think I have anything else to say apart from I hope you have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye.